What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and we have to go over a major Life is Strange story that not enough people are talking about. I actually saw this when this person that we'll talk about, I'll show you guys the picture of her tweet, when she had said this, and I was like, holy dear Jesus, why isn't anybody else talking about it? And that, the story is, and what we'll talk about in this video, is that Dontnod is done making Life is Strange games. Something obviously happened. We don't necessarily know. We can obviously speculate. And Deck 9 will be handling all future Life is Strange games. So one more time, Dontnod is finished making Life is Strange games. Deck 9 will be doing it from now on. I don't know why that's not on the front cover. I mean, I get it. It's a small-ish game, but really it's got quite a big following, and it's a very popular when it's, when it's going, when the episodes were out of really all of the seasons, 1, 2, Before the Storm, when any of those episodes were out, it was a pretty big deal in the gaming world, and so I'm shocked that not a lot of people are talking about it. So before I get too far into this, make sure, as always, you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys have the bell icon turned on. And also, if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, it's where I got this story from. Podcast Now 15 is my Twitter handle. I'll leave it in a link in the description below. Or, of course, obviously, you can just look me up on Twitter. All right, so the big story, and it's something that I think flew under the radar, was the Tencent, the purchase, the minority stake in Life is Strange developer Dontnod, and the money will be used to finance a new IP. So that was a story IGN wrote. So remember, they acquired a minority stake in Dontnod, and basically the story there is that they're just going to help have Dontnod self-publish their own games. They're going to bring it to Chinese markets. That's a big reason why they invested in them, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so that was the story a few days ago. Not a lot to it. There wasn't really anybody, talking about it. It was like, oh, okay, it's not going to stop Dontnod really from doing anything they were going to do. However, how does that affect Square Enix? Well, we know that Square Enix is the publisher for all of these Life is Strange games, okay? And nobody was really talking about that. I mean, we know Dontnod is making 6 different games at one time, which, by the way, I've talked about before. I don't think that's a recipe for success. I do think that's going to come back to haunt them in the future. If I guess they didn't learn anything from Telltale, they'll have to, go through a little bit of struggles until they realize it. But then this person, Emily Rogers, says, just to reiterate on my previous tweet, going forward, Deck 9 will handle all games related to Life is Strange. Square and Dontnod parted ways a long time ago. It had very little to do with this Tencent deal. So who knew that? Who knew that, and why isn't anybody talking about that, right? That's enormous. That's absolutely enormous. Now, I'd love to speculate as to why those two are done. Maybe it's because of Life is Strange 2, because really, Life is Strange 1 was a kind of a darling in all respects. People really loved it, and it sold very well for the kind of game it was. Remember, Dontnod was not really much of a company before Life is Strange. Okay, Life is Strange was kind of their big break. The game sold very well, and considering the size of the studio at the time, considering the amount of money they put into the game, they did very well. And Life is Strange 2 was obviously a big, ambitious project. Oh, and by the way, in between that, right, we had Before the Storm from Deck 9 that was only building on the Life is Strange name. Now, I've said for a long time that I do believe Life is Strange 2 didn't do nearly as well as they thought that it would. In fact, if you go back, and because I covered Life is Strange 2 the entire time, the entire year plus that game was going on, I covered it on this channel, and I know I said back then, I don't think it's actually doing as well as they thought it would. And I think a lot of people called me out and said, like, I don't think that's true, and that's okay. I mean, again, it's just speculation. I don't know if that has any part to do with it, right? Dontnod has obviously been doing their own thing with Twin Mirror and Tell Me Why and all this stuff. And I've talked about it before. They've made some solid games. They've made some not solid games. I would say they're very all over the place, because Life is Strange 1, or Life is Strange, whatever you want to call it, or Life is Strange, we can just say, is one of my favorite games ever. It always will be. It has been up until this point. I love it to death, okay? And my relationship with Life is Strange is also all over the place, because I love that game. I love a lot of Before the Storm. Yes, I don't think it's nearly as good. The Farewell episode, I think, is about as perfect of an episode as you can do. So that, with Deck 9, to be honest with you, okay, and if you watched my videos back in the day, and I know some people did, I know a lot of people had problems with what I said about Life is Strange 2. There was a lot. I mean, I was literally the enemy of the people when it came to Life is Strange 2, and I don't want to be that. I will be that if it's necessary, but I don't want to be that. But I hated Life is Strange 2. You just have to accept that you just have to accept that Alex from Podcast Now hated Life is Strange 2. Okay, I'm not saying you don't have to. I'm not saying you need to hate it, okay? You can have whatever opinion on it you want. We're all free to have our own opinion. To me, to be quite honest with you, this is actually a good story. Now, Life is Strange 1 is my favorite of them. Life is Strange 1 is as close to perfect as the Life is Strange franchise has ever been. So, would I want Dontnod to continue making them? Yes, I think they captured something very magical in that first, the first season, the first 5 episodes, and they weren't able, in my opinion, to capture it back with Life is Strange 2. However, public opinion was all over the place, because I can tell you, I know, because I literally lived it. At the time, I was literally one of, in fact, I would say content creator-wise, I was the only person criticizing Life is Strange 2. And then the people that had problems with me, a lot of them were like bowing down to this game. I've noticed over the last couple years since this game has ended that it seems like public opinion on it has dropped, that people don't like it as much as they did during the current time, and people are talking about Before the Storm and Life is Strange 1 more, okay? That could just be a select group of people, but I wonder if people are kind of coming around to what I was thinking. I honestly feel like this is an okay thing. Deck 9, in my opinion, proved that they can do this. Remember, they had to do I believe the story was they had to recreate an episode of Life is Strange without any of the tools that Dontnod used. I'm pretty sure that was the story, that they told them you need to recreate one of these episodes, and they told them the episode, and you need to recreate it, but we're not helping you whatsoever. And so Dontnod literally tested Deck 9 to see if they could do Life is Strange, and then when they passed that test, they did Before the Storm. I like Before the Storm. I know it's not perfect, but again, in my opinion, it's way better than Life is Strange 2. So it's kind of a gamble. I honestly look at this as kind of a gamble, where it's like, do I prefer that would I prefer that they both do it? Probably. I think the way that we all thought was going, right, where Dontnod would make the numbered entries, and then Deck 9 would make the spin-off stuff. I think that's kind of what we all assumed. I think that's kind of fine, because maybe Dontnod can actually go back to what they did that was good. Deck 9 can continue to crank out pretty darn solid projects, right? And it just goes back and forth. And I think that's a pretty good system they have in place. Now it's not that system. Now for Dontnod, we get the Twin Mirrors of the world, the Tell Me Whys, which, by the way, again, not hating, I actually really like Tell Me Why. And Twin Mirror, I think, was a pretty bad game, but it had a good game buried deep within. I actually did a review. I played Twin Mirror. They actually gave me Twin Mirror, and I did a review on it. I actually do like a lot of Twin Mirror, but it is, I would say, objectively a bad game, okay? So they're all over the place. I really don't know how much confidence, and we would have gotten there, okay, in 2, 3, however many years, when we got the next Life is Strange game by Dontnod, right? If say this wasn't happening, I would have probably been saying, yeah, I'm not sold on it. I'm not just immediately trusting that they have a good product in the works there, because flat out they've been all Dontnod has not made a consistently good product, I would say, since Life is Strange, the very first Life is Strange, where those episodes were consistently good. And to be quite honest with you, again, that is subjective. Not everybody liked Life is Strange. In fact, I know a lot of people that hate Life is Strange, and they think it's a terrible game, terrible characters, terrible story. And honestly, I do kind of see it. Okay, I understand why they think that. I don't agree with it. I love the franchise. So it's interesting. I mean, Deck 9 better start pumping. It means a couple things. One, I hope Deck 9 has enough people on board to handle this. And two, they need to get going, because we've been speculating for a long time about the next Life is Strange game. In fact, there was even the rumors that in February or in March, so within the next couple months, literally, actually, it could be this upcoming month right here, we could get an announcement of the next Life is Strange game. So now it would be coming from Deck 9, which is fine. In fact, it's what people kind of expected it to be. But I also know there is the group of people that aren't sold on them making a game from scratch. Now, I personally think it would be fine. You know what I mean? I think that with Before the Storm and with the farewell episode, they proved that they know not just the core characters of those games and the story and the setting, right? But they also know how to make a Life is Strange game. And I feel like that's what Dontnod forgot about. To me, Life is Strange 2 is not even a Life is Strange game. It really, really isn't, in my opinion. So I think Deck 9 can do. I'm not saying Deck 9 is better, but I have more confidence that Deck 9 can do it. And so we'll have to see. I mean, this is getting very exciting. Again, I mean, I have no idea why people aren't talking about this. This is enormous. Dontnod, the makers of Life is Strange, is done. They're not doing Life is Strange anymore. Deck 9 will be doing it. So that is really, really something. So we'll have to see when the next game is announced. You know I'll be there. You know I'll be covering it. I love to cover these games, and it's going to be a really big part of the channel going forward, okay? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on. Again, if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, PodcastNow15 is my Twitter handle. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope to see you all on the next video.